sometimes these myths can get in your head and like cause some panic or cause you to hold.
Right. And I think that hopefully what you've gathered from this is that it's not about like a hard and fast rule. It's not an absolute true or an absolute false. There are trade-offs to every single decision, every single quote unquote myth that's out there. Yes or no, depending on what's valuable to you.
Do you have a brilliant product idea but don't know where to start to get it made? Or are you looking to level up your product but afraid to take it overseas?
If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jackie.
And I'm Erin, and we are
The Sourcing Gals,
your trusted guides to everything you need to know about sourcing, manufacturing, and scaling your product overseas. Whether you are just starting out or you've been making your own product for a while, we are here to help women source products overseas without the overwhelm.
In each episode, we'll share insider tips, actionable strategies, and inspiring stories to help you source more effectively, save time, and boost your profits.
Duh!
We know how hard it can be to juggle the ins and outs of product development, but don't worry, we've got your back.
So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into how you can grow your business,
make more money,
and turn your products into profit. Welcome to
The Sourcing Gals. Now let's get started. High five.
Hi.
Tired of paying for international wire transfers? So was I, and that's exactly why I switched to Mercury. With Mercury, I never worry about fees for domestic or USD international wires. The platform is free, super easy to use, connects seamlessly with QuickBooks, and their credit card perks are hard to beat. I can spin out new cards instantly for my team, earn 1.5% cash back on all purchases, and right now they're even offering a 2.5% cash back on any ad spend. Terms apply. So stop paying fees and start putting money back in your pocket with Mercury. Learn more and sign up today using the link in the show notes.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of
The Sourcing Gals.
We are so excited that you're here today.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a minute, but I don't know if it has. It's just maybe we've just been really busy.
I think it's that we have crammed so much into our lives that our normal cadence still feels like really far apart.
Yeah, to be honest, I was going to tell you this, but like this past week, I don't think I've worked hours like this I felt like I'm back at corporate. I've been up to like 1 or 2 a.m.
I was seeing some late emails from you.
It's just a lot going on.
Yeah,
all good stuff, but a lot going on in both Sourcing Gals, onboarding new employees and clients, and then also for my personal business, it's like 'tis the holiday season.
'Tis the season.
So yeah, it's just been a lot, but it's okay. I'm going to get through it. This is how we do. And I'll sleep later.
I agree with you. I've been on WeChat more this week than like ever before.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we have a big presentation coming up. We're like literally flying out to LA for a very big client presentation. And we have to put together a robust amount of samples and decks. I mean, we're so excited for it.
We also have a big presentation this week.
Yeah, like Thursday as well. So that's when I was up on Sunday night working on a deck for that. Yeah. So it's just, again, it's all good things. It's just all converging. And then as you guys know.
And then magic.
And then magic's coming up, which is a whole nother thing, but I'm not there yet mentally.
Right. I was telling someone yesterday, I was on a mastermind call. I said that when there are seasons like this, my brain is like a nightclub. We are one in, one out. For any additional thing to go in, something's got to come out, which means like I have to get the grocery list done, or I have to get something else done to make space for something new to come in.
Ooh, I should try that right now. I'm gonna be like they're gonna send the police for my brain right now because It is like so over capacity.
The bouncers are like, get out of here.
They're like, sorry, this is highly illegal. What's happening in this club right now? So anyways, we'll get back to today's agenda, but we are excited to play a little game today.
Ooh, I love games.
You know, kind of like a myth buster game, myth or fact.
I used to love the Mythbuster show, but
yes,
let's see what we're doing today.
So we're going to throw out a lot of the biggest things that we hear from founders or even from people who are not actually in the industry. They just maybe think they know or like, I've heard so and so and so or XYZ, right?
We get a lot of that.
So we're going to go through some myths that we hear.
Mythbuster, Sourcing Gals edition.
Dun, dun, dun. And then talk about if it's true or not. Because there might be some truth to these as well, by the way,
Yes, there might
as we
be.
go through. So
Also, sorry about my husky, quiet voice. I am recovering from a cold.
I like it. It's like a little,
I can hit the low notes on the Taylor songs. I'm like,
oh yeah, it's been a week. It's been a week when you can hit those notes. Speaking of, oh gosh, are you just dying that we
haven't seen photos.
no information on the wedding? So some of you guys might not know, but my dad is actually pretty chummy with Taylor Swift's dad. They're actually close friends. I really was expecting him to get an invite.
I talked to him on the phone last week.
Oh yeah, I was expecting him to get an invite to the wedding, to be fair. And I was like, with a wedding that big, why isn't my dad invited? But he wasn't, and totally fine. My dad was like, I'm not getting invited. But anyways, my mom was saying, she's like, I just think as our friends, they owe us something. I'm like, Mom, they owe you nothing. They owe you absolutely nothing. I'm sure there were multiple NDAs and layers and levels and lawyers involved in that entire event. So good for her. But I'm also just like, I just want to see just one picture.
I also just kind of hope, we're not turning this into a fans podcast, but I do just kind of hope that they also maybe got married somewhere else with a small group for that kind of whole fairy tale folklore side of her that exists.
Yeah.
That's very I don't know. I might be reading into her personality too much, but I just felt like that wasn't her. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. We can talk about that another day.
Well, Taylor, congrats.
Congratulations, Taylor.
We're so happy for you.
And your husband.
And your husband. Oh, yeah, him. Whatever. Okay, getting into it. Sorry. Rewinding. Back on track. I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to give this one to you, actually.
Okay.
Myth or fact? China is always the cheapest place to manufacture. Dun, dun, dun.
You know how much we love working with China.
Yes.
And it's always my preference. Not always, but mostly my preference. But it's still a myth. It's still false. China is always going to be cheaper at the things that China is best at. We are talking cut-sew garments. We're talking things that are synthetics, athleisure, plastics, even metals, jewelry, molded goods. China will mostly always be cheaper. There are some things for which China is not cheaper. And we didn't mention this before we hopped on, but you'll relate to this as well. There are a lot of things that China has to outsource now to other Southeastern countries, Vietnam, Cambodia, even when it comes to handbags and cut and sew tees and sweatshirts. A lot of these bigger factories can no longer make it for the cost necessary in China, and they do have to outsource it. So that's still usually China run. The factories are still usually owned by Chinese ownership, and they're just being produced in other countries for lower, let's say labor costs. But when it comes to fully creating something that's cheaper in another country, it's going to be your very natural goods. Think rattan baskets, think wooden bowls and handicraft pieces, think block printing, think linens, think what India's great at also. And even you'd think it'd be more handicrafts, but even some resin goods are definitely better out of India. When I worked in jewelry, there was a very distinct difference between what we would send to India and what we would send to China. If we had heavily beaded earrings and necklaces, we would always send them to India.
Yep.
They were always going to be less expensive out of India, even though our factories in India were still buying the beads from China. It's a handicraft that's been passed down through generations in India, and it's more common to find that in other countries.
Plus, they might not even be able to do it in China. I remember with my last company, we had a very large handbag business that we worked with, like a mall-based business, and they wanted to do beaded handbags. And all of their production was out of China or of the like. And they literally, their factory said, we cannot do this.
Yes.
So it was less of an affordability thing and more of just a full capability thing. So we took it to India and did it out of there. So, and in regards to what you're saying for natural materials, that's probably because in India, that is their own raw material.
Yeah, it's a natural resource.
It's a natural resource that they're growing cutting down, whatever, within their country. So not having to import that raw material.
Correct.
Step one.
And I did a lot of fine jewelry out of India, northern India, where we would have gemstones, gold and silver that were more native to that region. So they were cheaper. And the factories and the craftsmen in that region were more used to working with that product as well.
Yep.
So it was better.
Something else interesting to note, too, when we talk about China, right, is the tariffs.
Yeah.
Because it's still a thing. Like
it is still a thing.
They're still out there. So something else to remember is your first cost, meaning that factory cost, might still be coming in way lower compared to other countries, but you have to always remember to land your like add in the tariff, right? Because duties are going to kind of be somewhat similar between, but the tariff piece of it is like where you really get the kicker, where it really starts to add on top. And so just knowing that first cost is information, but really it's that fully landed in cost when it arrives to you here in the US that's actually drives your bottom line.
That's what's going to matter. Absolutely.
Okay.
So there are other things, but think about where products are best made. And that's usually also where they're going to be least expensive.
Yep. And we always say, check your tags. That's our hack. Check the tags, go to retail, turn everything over, see where it's made. That's always usually the best place to start.
Sure.
If you're building a product-based business and finding yourself second-guessing decisions or wishing you had someone to gut check, we want you to know you don't have to do this alone.
On January 1st, we're opening the Sourcing Gals Founders Circle, our private community for product-based founders.
Inside, you'll get monthly Q&A calls with us, access to our templates, scripts, and tools, and most importantly, a community of founders building right alongside you.
It's only $27 a month, or for a limited time, $247 for the year. That's 3 months free. You can find all the details in the show notes. Hope to see you there.
All right. The next myth. We hear this very often, and we have a lot of early founders who always want to buy to the MOQ, and they think that buying to the MOQ is the best. Is that true or false, Jackie?
I would say that is not always true. There are definitely times where buying to the MOQ is going to limit you in lots of ways. So maybe from a dollar perspective, it feels like the best option, but have you even asked what the cost is? Not, to double it, right? Sometimes that 500 unit MOQ, the cost when you hit 1,000 can literally be almost more cost effective, like total. I know we've talked about this before. Like there's pros and cons of that, right?
Sure.
Like your lamps, right? You're like, oh, if I could buy twice as much for the same price as the 500, and now I'm stuck with extra lamps. So there are instances where the MOQ, even if it costs you the same, if not more, maybe you're testing, maybe you just don't want to carry that inventory. But there are definitely times where when you start to look at what those next price breaks are, it might behoove you to just buy a little bit more and save on that.
Right.
That's just like a cost perspective.
And also think about if you're building a business, what your first year looks like. If you're going to buy to the min every other month for the rest of the year versus maybe 2 orders that are a little higher, you get a better price. You have inventory. You're saving a ton of money.
This reminds me of this week we were talking with one of our clients about this. So right now, they have a retailer that they are working with that's buying fairly tight. So instead of them carrying extra inventory, they're literally placing orders as the retailer does. But what the price that you're not really seeing with that is that every production run, you should be requiring another PP sample, TOP sample, and guess what? The freight for those samples, we did the math. I mean, it could be up to like $300 sometimes for these shipments. So if you're buying a 250 unit order, but you're paying $300 of freight for your TOPs every single reorder, I mean, that's money hitting your bottom line. So even thinking about that when you talk about buying to an MOQ and then when's your next reorder, know that you're going to want to see you should see another sample before they ship, even if it's the exact same product in the exact same item.
Because there's always going to be inconsistencies in the raw materials for each order.
Correct. Correct. So you're going to want to see that perfect PP. You're going to want to see that perfect TOP, how it came off the line. So that's just from like a true cost perspective. But I will tell you that there's also capabilities that get highly pulled back when you start buying to only MOQs.
You really hit your stride when you start making a lot.
Correct.
Like, remember, you know how you're making pancakes and like the perfect one is like third to last?
Always.
The first three like really suck.
Yeah, total 100%.
That's it.
100%. Yeah. I love your analogies. They're so good. And I was going to say, a lot of times buying to the MOQ, you are relegated to the colors they have.
Yeah.
But maybe at 1,000 units, you can make your own custom color.
Which automatically puts you in a different stratosphere of what else is out there. Like if you're providing something out there that already exists and your point of differentiation is your color, you're going to have to buy more, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. And again, even down to the material composition, like if you're buying to the MOQ, you're probably buying something that's available, ready made. And so if you wanted to actually have your fabric be a little bit softer, have a little more cotton and a little less spandex or whatever that is, like you're going to have to usually buy more than just that like base level MOQ to get something different.
I think that big picture, it's always less expensive. Not always, I shouldn't use absolutes, but big picture, it's likely less expensive if you order a little bit more, you do it a little bit custom from the beginning, you're not constantly placing POs that are really small. But I understand why some people can't.
Correct.
But you just have to know that like that should be a means to an end.
Correct. I love that. Okay. Oh, this is such a good one. Myth 3. Factories steal everybody's ideas.
Oh, I hate this.
This is like a hot button for me. So I'll let you go first before I like get on my soapbox here.
Okay, A, that's a no. That's false.
False.
I do think that ideas get stolen often. And I do think they get stolen often by factories. I don't think it's the factory that's making your stuff. However, I think when your things hit the open market, they are online, they are live. I think there are people who crawl through the market research for things to knock off, and they do it. And I think sometimes that's other factories, sometimes it's importers, but I don't think it's your factory.
I mean, I always say this, factories are business owners. They are focused on making your product. They are not brand builders. If they were brand builders, they'd have their own business. Right. They'd have their own storefront shop. Most of these factories do not. They pay themselves by helping you build your brand.
That's more lucrative for them.
Yes, all day long. All day long. So if they're really going to take your idea and run with it, I mean, they're shooting themselves in the foot because then they've lost you as a potential client.
Right.
2, their reputation, like that matters, right? Like all of a sudden you can start putting that out there that this factory did XYZ to you, which is not great marketing for them. And then 3, they have to actually go build the business then, which again, most factories are not, I don't want to say they're not capable of it. It's just not what they do.
No.
They're not, and yes, some factories do have, Amazon sites or Alibaba sites. But again, that is a whole nother business arm. And if they are doing that in the US market with your product, like they're setting themselves up to be shut down.
I will say that I do work with a factory who has an Amazon store, and I actually provide them with designs to use so that, I mean, obviously they're not knocking people off. They're using our original designs, but we've been in business with them on their Amazon store for 3 years. And it's like just turning profitable because of the amount of design and photography and the Amazon ads and all of this.
And they have to carry inventory.
And they have to carry inventory.
So it's not like they're getting a purchase order from a client that says, I want 5,000, I make 5,000, I ship 5,000, I get paid on 5,000. It's, I have to go make 100, 500 and sit on it until someone goes on Amazon and buys it.
And the amount of money spent per SKU that goes live is actually pretty high. Like they're not just going to do it on a whim. So it's really, like Jackie said, it's more lucrative for them to keep your business and do your business and get paid on your business than it is to sell your idea.
Correct.
And not that it's all about money, but they also want to be your partner. If you're getting knocked off, it is likely by other people in your industry or importers or just like opportunists who knock everybody off, which is always going to happen. So be first to market, be the best. And that's what you can do.
Yeah. And I think there is still, some IP protection. I'm saying this in air quotes here if you're watching on YouTube, because, right, like your IP usually is sanctioned for US, right? Like when we go through the legal system, we get protections and patents for the US market. It's a whole nother can of worms when you start to try to do things internationally from a cost standpoint. I mean, everything gets bigger. So yes, when you send that patent, when you send that trademark, when you send that copyright over to a factory, Does it really protect you? Not so much, but I do think it also tells a story to your factory that you have your shit together, that you've done your due diligence, that you're serious about this. And again, I still don't think that that's going to make or break them from taking your idea, but there's no harm in that, is my point. So share that information with your factory. Let them know that what you're doing is innovative, that it's highly coveted, that you're looking for a partner that's going to, keep this tight to their chest as well. But truly, at the end of the day, I think, are there instances where factories have stolen ideas? I am sure of it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it has never happened in my 20 years of manufacturing that the factory has taken something that we have given them and they've gone and resold it to somebody else.
Right.
So willingly. Right. So that's my thoughts on that.
All right. We have our next myth. This is, I think, a little bit more obvious, but we want to talk about it. But we still, even though I think in theory this might seem obvious, it's still an expectation a lot of times.
Yes.
So myth number 4, my first sample is going to be perfect.
Wah, wah, wah.
That was really good.
Thanks. I used to be a beatboxer in college.
I did not know that.
In my a cappella group. Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. So
that makes, that tracks. I just learn new things about you every day.
I know.
But
it's so fun.
Yes. So the first sample, I say that when you say that out loud, your first sample is not going to be perfect. People are like, well, of course not.
Yeah.
But then when it comes, it's not perfect.
You're like,
often
damn it.
let down. Yes.
Yeah. And even when, we have a lot of founders who are like, I put so much detail in the tech pack and I had everything outlined. And, sometimes that's a double-edged sword too.
Yeah, totally.
Having like so much information overload that they kind of don't even know really where to focus first. And so a lot of times a little bit more of a bird's eye view on that first sample is more important. Like, hey, let's get the silhouette.
Let's get the concept.
Yeah, let's get the silhouette done. Let's get the general specs done. And then let's dive into labels. And then let's dive into, extra details or novelty. Again, I don't even know. I'm not giving an example here, but I do think sometimes giving them everything all up front at once, which we're actually going to talk about in a separate podcast coming up, can actually be harmful to your first proto sample coming back.
Absolutely. I'll give you an example of like a tote we did a couple of months ago for a client. Our predominant goal was to get this like little pocket design on the outside of the tote. So we sent it like that. We sent the tech pack, these cute little pocket designs. This is what we want. Once that was achieved, then we said, okay, on the inside, we would love to have an interior pocket. We would love to have a loop for keys. We would love to have this and that. It was not the primary by any means. But if we had focused on the interior pockets and the loop for keys and all this stuff, the exterior pockets might not have been communicated as like the primary focus as much as what we would have wanted.
Yeah, that's a great example. So I think knowing that a sample is information both ways, right? Them creating that sample, they're learning.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out, okay, what is the most effective way to actually bring this idea to production in a production-friendly manner? Just because we think it should be made one way does not mean it makes sense for manufacturing also. So then that sample really is the factory learning. And a lot of times factories will actually say, and I know it's so annoying. I used to get really annoyed by it. It's like, well, we can't give you a price until we make the sample. And it's like, but I also, that's real sometimes. Like they actually, if they've never done something like that, they want to go through the sampling process. They want to see how much fabric does it actually take? How much wastage are they going to lose? How many times are they having to move to a different machinery because it's different stitches? So it is a real thing. If they're a factory that makes t-shirts, like my t-shirt quotes, I can get on the phone with my factory.
Same with jewelry. I can send a picture of a piece of jewelry and get a quote like this.
Instantaneously.
But not for like a backpack or something that's a little more complicated and every single little piece is a different order of operations.
Yep. And the factory, like time matters. Like how long it takes them to put that together matters. So when they're doing it in a sample room, they're doing their own time studies in a sense. Like how many times am I moving this piece to another machine, another this, another that. So if you do hear sometimes that like, hey, we can't give you a price until we do your sample, like they're not just pulling the wool over your eyes. Like there's probably a legitimate reason why they're saying that. They're not just trying to get your $100 sample fee.
No. And something to add to this too is that in a lot of circumstances, especially for bags, your first sample isn't actually even made from your materials.
Oh yeah. You had a fun one come the other way.
Fun one. Yeah. I was in China, in May, and our first samples were like the zipper was orange, the fabric was lime green, the binding was black. All of it was wrong, but that's not what we were looking at.
Yeah.
We were trying to get the patterns down. We were trying to understand functionality. And then after that, they could do it in proper materials. So your first sample in a lot of cases is like a mock-up.
Correct. So we have to say perfection is built through revisions, right? Like that sample getting to that perfect PP. And I even say perfect in air quotes, to be honest, because you still might not have every single thing you wanted. But again, put that consumer hat on. Is it good enough?
But it's iterative. Like
exactly.
You are learning things from your factory. Your factory is learning things from you as you go through the sample process, and
correct.
It will change.
Yes, it will. And most likely it'd be interesting to, do an audit of like founders' first proto ideas and then where you actually landed, like how different are they? It'd be kind of fun to know how often there are adjustments or concessions made because of the bulk manufacturing process, because of pricing, because of MOQ, like all the different reasons why. So these are the things that we say, have your non-negotiables, but come in with some negotiables.
Yes.
And then through the sampling process is where you're going to kind of stand firm on some and then start to bend on others.
Sounds great.
Okay, this is a funny one next. Manufacturing overseas takes forever. Well, I was just bitching about this morning, actually. So I would say, is this true? I mean, depends on what depends on how you look at time. Let's say that. Depends on what your timeline looks like. I mean, manufacturing overseas takes forever. It can sometimes, but it doesn't always have to. Okay? It does not have to. There's lots of ways to move things quicker along. I'll just give you a quick little anecdote here from what I was bitching about this morning. And it's not a bitch. That's really mean to say. But
it's reality.
It's reality. It just sucks. I love that. That's exactly what it is. My fabric lead time for my pajamas is really long. And unfortunately, right now, yarn is taking extra long. So my lead time is typically like 65, 75 days. I was just told it's going to be 90 days now. Oh. So for me, an extra 2.5, 3 weeks when you're trying to work on a retail schedule is very challenging because then my cut sew is still, 30 to 45 days. And then a boat's another 55 days, right? So it starts to really add up. And I'm trying to still learn about a startup business, right? And so like, how much do you have to hedge when I'm literally buying like 6 months plus out right now? So it's really challenging. So my pajamas right now are taking forever, but I will say that, one way even within that I play with time is for my bigger retail POs, from a cost standpoint, I have to boat it.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I recently negotiated a fast boat, which is so funny because I remember growing at Abercrombie or whoever was always like, oh, there's fast boat. People would like roll their eyes. Like, no, there's literally a fast boat
we'd be
from
like,
China.
A speedboat.
Yeah. And there literally is. So I will tell you that so my air freight that I got quoted just for line of sight, I quoted my pajamas to air versus boat. I think I was quoted like $250 a pair of pajamas.
Okay.
Like that would be like 25% of my cost of goods. Like something I could never afford for a big retailer PO where I'm working on much tighter margins. Like it would my profit would be gone.
Tighter
basically.
Margins and larger units.
Yes. Like it would not make sense. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. Now for my e-com business, I will pay the extra $250 all day long to get it here earlier because I have a lot more room in my margin for it. So then they said, okay, the boat's not going to work. Air's way too expensive. Can you quote me a fast boat? Literally. With my factory in China, I don't typically ask that. Like we always just kind of go slow boat from China. That's just how it is. But I said, hey, I know we haven't done this very often, but like, can you quote me a fast boat? And literally,
I was going to ask you if you asked your factory or if you asked 3PL.
No, I asked my factory because they do all my importing for me for my pajamas, which is great. So for 15 cents more, from $2.50 air to only 15 cents more. I think it was 15 cents more, maybe 30. I don't even think it was 30 cents
more than what?
Than my slow boat cost. I'm shaving 20 days off of my transit.
Wow. By
paying 15 or 20 cents more a unit.
That's great.
Like to me, that makes it hit holiday cutoff in November versus before I was in December and it was too late for holiday to air.
Yeah.
So for me, that price was well worth it all day long.
Yeah.
So 20 days for me, huge. from 55 days boat to 35 days boat.
That's fantastic.
I'll pay a quarter, for that all day versus $2.50.
Yes.
So anyways, I say all this to say, while manufacturing can take time, there are multiple ways to get it in that shaves off time on the back end.
I also think that we talked about this at the top of the episode. Is it always cheap to work with China? But is it always faster to work domestically? No.
No.
In fact, I think China's the fastest country I work with. I used to do a lot of work out of Europe when I worked in leather goods, and the time, like it would be you'd send an email and you get a response maybe next week. It's just like a very lackadaisical approach, and it's not the same when you're working out of China at all.
No, we're quoting a project out of Peru for a founder right now. We're doing some cut and sew with her, and I want to say the production lead time was 10 weeks. And Peru is known back in my past. That was where we did all of our t-shirts for Abercrombie, like because it was quick, super quick. Now you save it on the transit time, right? So transit time is literally like 1 to 2 weeks. Like it literally just comes like around the water up through.
Weeks, so what, 70 days? That's a long time.
A very long
tank top.
Especially when they're buying the raw materials. It's Peruvian cotton, like we're buying Pima cotton. So it's coming from their country. So that just shows it doesn't actually take them 75 days to make it. That just shows probably their lead time and runway in regards to getting in the line, getting booked, getting the fabric procured, right? So, but again, we're going to save it on the transit. So in total, it's not horrible. And hopefully as we do more business with them, that lead time can get tighter. But again, to that point, manufacturing, it can take time. Now, bulk manufacturing is one part of it. Your sample development's a whole nother lead time. That depending on how particular, how long you go back and forth and keep tweaking and changing. I mean, talk about time. Like you can tack 6 months on to your total.
Oh, sure. Easily.
Production lead time just by spinning samples.
Sure.
Around and around and around. I was also going to say that depending on how fast you're willing to make decisions is going to move your production along.
Oh, yeah.
So much quicker.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. If you are decisive, welcome to our world. We embrace you with open arms. An indecisive person working in overseas manufacturing is like, you're just going to keep slapping time on.
And we talk about this. There is money, there is a cost to pain and suffering when a factory's working with you. So the faster you can get through that development pipeline, I'm telling you, you are saving yourself money on the back end.
It kind of leads us to our next myth. Myth number 6. Once a PO is placed, you are done.
Oh, I wish.
Pencils down.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
It's not quite true.
Sorry.
In fact, it might be the biggest myth of them all because the PO placement, and I'm actually dealing with this right now with a client. When a PO is placed, that says we intend to make this thing for which we have a sample. You can go buy the raw materials. Now, from that point, you still have some leeway in what you can make with those materials. You do have to be very strategic, and you have to work very closely with your factory to ensure that nobody's getting stuck with material that was purchased and not used, or it, like you were talking about earlier, those order of operations and setting up the line, like those should all be consistent. But a lot of times after the PO is placed, you might still work on your labels or your tags or how it's packed, or I've like changed the color of a screen print at the very last minute because the screens are burned, the fabric's there, but like changing the color, fine. So as you get more and more familiar with what you can do after the PO is placed, you can do quite a lot. I don't know if I'd recommend it for early stage founders.
Correct.
But you can always talk to your factory about what opportunities are there here to change something if necessary. They might just say nothing, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I think if you're in that early stage founder, some of these changes that Erin's talking about might be more aesthetic. There might be some real changes based on new information from your business, right? I mean, I send size breaks when I place my fabric commitments, but I am by no means telling my factory to go cut and like hold me to those size curves that I'm giving them 3 months ahead of schedule, right? Like my fabric, as you heard, is going to take 3 months. So I'm going to give some rough estimated sizes of what I want, but you better believe that 2.5 months from now, when that fabric is finishing up, I'm going to review my size selling, determine how many extra smalls, mediums that I need to buy, and I'm going to rejigger my entire PO to them. Now, my total fabric commitment won't change, but how I'm going to cut each one, and even down to the style level, to be honest, I'll give them a purchase order saying, hey, I'm going to make this many t-shirts, this many button downs, and I'm using the same dusty blue colorway. I can totally flip that on its head. I can actually say, hey, stop. I'm actually going to have you cut into that new style you just developed for me entirely in this fabric. And I have the authority to do that. Again, it's not going to affect them as long as I catch it before they're in their production planning process.
Of course.
So that's one thing about changing. But then other important things you've heard us say this time and time again, once that purchase order is placed, that means, as Erin said, they are buying the raw materials and samples. So you want to make sure that you are still getting a perfect PP, a pre-production sample, which means when all those raw materials arrive at the factory, they're going to make you one more sample. And that's when your perfect labels, your perfect color, your perfect zippers, everything's pulled together.
Graphic, everything's
good to go. And you are approving that before they proceed. So that's one extra sample you're going to be getting. And then on top of that, the minute that production starts, you're asking them for a TOP to be sent to, a top of production sample. That actually means someone on the bulk sewing lines made that good. They put it right in, a DHL package and ship it off to you to make sure that it's actually matching to that perfect PP sample they sent you weeks or a month prior. So those are still 2 samples. And I'm just a huge fan of once you send that PO, it's not like, okay, now you get to go on vacation and fall off the face with your factory.
No, there's a lot of communication.
Like there still needs to be follow-up. How are things going? How's timing looking? Like, maybe it's not an everyday communication, but I would say you're touching base at least once or twice a week with follow-ups of like, again, PP status updates, TOP status updates. There's probably some shipping documentation or clarification or packing method, as Erin talked about.
Packing method. Do you want it folded this way or that way? Does the tag go here or here? Things of that nature.
And there's going to be shortages too, but there's a good chance you're going to have some shortages. So you might ask for 522 handbags. And with the manufacturing process, they might end up with 518. They might end up with 532, right? There's usually like a plus or minus tolerance. And so that purchase order that you wrote to them most likely is going to have to be revised, even on the receiving end for yourself if you're putting it on your website. So again, these are all communication points that happen once that PO is placed.
Right. So the PO isn't the end.
It is not the end. It's actually the beginning.
Dun, dun. Well, and also think about in corporate, there is an entire team just devoted to what happens after the PO is placed.
Well, that's also because at corporate, they change their mind 25 times after the purchase order is placed. So they need like 10 times the resources to refarkle those orders. But yes, I mean, it is true. It is a very important part. I mean, it's just as important as the front end.
It does.
It really is.
It all just goes to show that some of the biggest myths in manufacturing, they come from people who haven't lived it.
Yep. And don't always listen to the myths.
Right.
Find the facts. Do the research. Listen to our podcast. We'll help you through it. But sometimes these myths can get in your head and like cause some panic or cause you to hold.
Right. And I think that hopefully what you've gathered from this is that it's not about like a hard and fast rule. It's not an absolute true or an absolute false. There are trade-offs to every single decision, every single quote unquote myth that's out there, yes or no, depending on what's valuable to you. So it all goes back to communication with your factory, what's your non-negotiables for your product, and march your own like trail when it comes to what you need.
I love it. Well, hopefully you guys learned a few things today. We kind of dug into some real in the weeds topics here, but we just thought it was important as we keep hearing similar things from our founders. So we want to just bust the myths.
Mythbusters.
Da, da, da. You keep like
Mythbusters. Is it my cold? I don't know, maybe.
I don't know.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us on this episode of
The Sourcing Gals.
And we will see you again next time.